Parents, siblings, grandparents, teachers, staff, distinguished guests, welcome to ISL Class of 2019 Graduation. My name is Ian Fish and I'm the Upper School Principal at ISL. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies at this most auspicious occasion. My first honour is to welcome our Director and long-standing ISL graduation expert, Miss Nikki Crush, to make the opening speech today.
I didn't wear these glasses when I first started these graduation ceremonies. Honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, and most importantly, Class of 2019. Welcome to our graduation ceremony, and thank you for joining us today. This is a day for celebrations and for appreciation, and I must take a moment to thank all of our teaching and our professional support staff for all their work in making ISL such an excellent school at which to study. So I really think they all deserve a round of applause. As students, you also need to say a huge thank you to your parents for the tremendous support they've given you throughout your school years, and to the parent committee who have done so much to organise the celebrations during the year and those that are still to come. Just a few words of welcome to you on this all-important day for our graduating students. Life is an adventure, and you've just completed the first 18 years of it. Sometimes you can take it at a leisurely pace. Sometimes you just have to run to keep up. And so my advice is very simple. Plan the very best possible adventure you can. And when you find what you really like doing, then try and keep doing it. A few years ago, I came across an old Zulu proverb which talks about Ubuntu. The idea that a person is only really that person because of the other people around them. Because throughout our lives, we depend on connections with others. And our students are constantly making connections. They're fantastic networkers. They depend on one another, they're passionate about causes, connecting with, understanding and respecting diverse points of view. The world needs people who embrace difference. So, Class of 2019, I say to you, be generous, be humble, be empathetic, be compassionate, be principled, be adaptable, acknowledge your mistakes and learn from them. Make a difference, no matter how small. With 27 different nationalities who've grown together, regardless of where you came from, always be respectful of others. You're part of a very large team. Believe in yourself. Don't be afraid of change. Accept it and actually embrace it. Change is healthy. Challenge yourselves. Find a passion. It may take very many years, but that's okay. And when you find it, make it grow. Listen to your head and your heart. As Nelson Mandela said, a good head and a good heart are a formidable combination. Create opportunities. Don't wait to be asked. Don't always accept the status quo. Ask questions. Take action. Be relentless. Be provocative. Make the most of every day. Don't wait until tomorrow. Take responsibility for your successes and build on those failures. Be resilient. Don't give up easily, and don't bear grudges. Keep learning. Be thoughtful. Be curious. Be reflective as you learn something new every day. And be grateful every day. Say thank you to your parents, your teachers, your friends. They're your biggest supporters. The world doesn't owe us anything. We make our own luck and our own success. You have to work hard, and sometimes it's boring. But don't expect anything from anyone. Expect to do it yourself. and you may well be pleasantly surprised. And finally, be happy and enjoy every day that comes.
This year we have exactly 100 graduates from an incredible 27 different nationalities. It's actually one of our largest ever graduating classes. You'd be amazed at how composed they look today, actually. Many of these students, I think about 70 of them, were finishing off their final exams yesterday afternoon. So good job for looking so composed today. We continue this morning with our first item from our musical selection, one of my favorites and highly appropriate for this occasion. Take Me Home, Country Roads by John Denver. This will be performed by Jana Baric and Tali Gologon in their own arrangement of this country classic. Where are they?
Hello.
Check, check, check. Check, check, check.
So I'm Yana, this is Tally, and we'll be playing Take Me Home, Country Roads. And for the final chorus, we were thinking that maybe everyone could join in to sort of represent how we've all done this journey together. Once the chorus finishes, Tally and I will finish the song, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you don't know the lyrics, just sing the melody, just sing la la la, just to get everyone involved. Could I get more guitar?
Check, check. Could I get a little more on this one? Right. Yeah. Check, check, check. Yeah. Thank you.
Wait, is the guitar, do you guys hear the guitar? No?
Check. Check, check.
Country roads, take me home to the place I belong, to the place I belong. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong, to the place I belong. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country roads. All my memories gather round her, miner's lady, stranger to blue water. Dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrops in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home. Country she calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. And driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Oh, yesterday, country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads. Now everyone join in. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, mountain mama, take me home, country roads, take me home, country roads, take me home, country roads. Thank you.
We are blessed with such incredible talent at ISL. Brought a tear to my eyes. I'm sure some of you too. Such an emotional song and so beautifully performed. Thank you both of you. They have such a bright future. Some of you might actually be aware that Jana, aka Frances of Delirium, recently won a spot at the lineup for the Screaming Fields concert at the Rock Hall on July 13th. Just a little plug for you there, Jana. Good luck with that. Tickets are still available. It is with great pleasure that I now call upon another of our rising stars, Mika Boucher-Verrette, to present his address on behalf of this graduating class.
Wonderful hats, aren't they? Good morning. So here we are at last, ready to gently close the ISL chapter of our lives and open the next one, whatever it may be. Now, I'd like to start off by reading the email that I received from Mr. Fish just 1 week ago. Dear Mika, all well I hope. I spoke to Julian today and he informed me that you were not aware of your role as the graduation speaker. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding, but either way you are informed now. All of us are really looking forward to it. All the best, Mr. Fish. And I think that brings me to something that we will all miss from ISL, the school's excellent organization. We will miss having our maths exam rescheduled at the last minute because that's how long it took them to realize that it is impossible to fit the entire grade 12 and grade 10 in the gym at the same time. We will miss the many weekly emails from Mr. Keach giving us all the latest updates about the middle school cascade activities. We will miss the ever-growing collection of substitute teachers whose talent and charming personalities we are provided with when we least expect it. We will miss thinking we have a free period only to find out at the last minute that we have yet another assembly about academic honesty. Yes, as much as we have complained about these things over the years, I think we will miss them because somehow they're part of what makes this school charming. Another great thing about ISL is that it's not just a school, it serves so many purposes, it's multifunctional. It's a cinema because occasionally our teachers feel generous, or maybe lazy, we're not sure, and allow us to enjoy a good movie as a reward for our hard work. Special mention to Frau Johnson for introducing us to the full spectrum of depressing German films about topics such as the war, gangs, Alzheimer's, and immigration. Basically anything that puts you in a great mood. ISL has also been a health and safety training center, because I think we all keep fond memories of the hours spent lined up on the football field while a fictional fire is going on, as we listen to Mr. Keach say something like into the microphone, because that system is highly functional. Likewise, we'll remember the time spent sitting in our teacher's closet during lockdown practice until Mrs. Crush announces that the buffet is open or that coffee is ready. Yes, all of her signal codes have something to do with food or drink. And speaking of food, ISL is also a restaurant, because the word cafeteria simply doesn't do justice to the great food we get here, which is why no one really likes the international luncheon. Anymore, whose only purpose is to make people sad when no one wants to eat their dish. ISL is also a charity organization, because there's always some kind of fundraiser going on. Usually it's so that students can go on holiday to Thailand, seems legit. It's a quiz show, a sincere thanks to whoever invented Kahoot. And the science department could probably even open a radio station with all the latest hits about electronic configuration and photosynthesis. I do want to reassure our parents, though, ISL's primary function is still to provide us with an education. And in the past 2 years, that has come in the form of something called the IB, 2 letters that we'd rather never hear again. Now, according to acronymfinder.com, and don't worry, I do have a full MLA citation for that, IB stands for I'm bored, infectious bronchitis, and idiot box. I think that says it all. But in the end, we got through it. Although we don't really know that. Maybe we'll all see each other again in November for the retakes. But for now, let's be optimistic. And of course, we have one person in particular to thank for that, and for helping us through these last 2 years, and that's Mr. Sinclair. Or Bob, as we call him in my household, given the number of interactions we've had with him. Because as much as he may have been at times our worst nightmare, I think it's important to realize that we have most certainly also been his. So really, a sincere thank you for helping us get this far and for your infinite support, patience, and dedication. Likewise, we also have to thank our teachers, of course, for everything they've done for us these past 2 years. Now, I'm not going to be able to mention everyone because I don't have the time. I promised I'd try to keep this down to 10 minutes, but I'll say a few to some of the ones I've had for IB. So thank you to Dr. Mully for exposing us to the exciting world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, for treating us to an infinite amount of classes on exam-taking methodology, and for serving as our personal countdown clock to the IB. Thank you to Ms. Runnels, for whom even her passion for Italy, wine, white chocolate, and The Little Mermaid does not match the spark in her eyes when she talks about maths. And of course also for always putting the lesson target on the board, following Mr. Bennett's requests. Thank you to Monsieur Gravé-Rousseau for only telling us important things and for making sure to confirm this by saying "et ça c'est tout à fait important" at the end of every sentence. Thank you to Mr. Ertel for choosing the medicinal chemistry option because he really wanted to talk about drugs. And thank you also to his son Noah for teaching us about dwarf planets. And thank you to Ms. Powell for providing us with a constant supply of tea and popcorn, much appreciated. And personally, there's 2 people in particular who have counted a lot throughout my time here, and that's, of course, the theatre department. Thank you to Ms. Hunt for these past 2 years. Our small theatre class was certainly a special one, but thanks to all the therapy sessions and endless anecdotes about Russian oligarchs, and your patience and relaxed attitude, we have managed to have the best time and get through the IB program almost painlessly. Thank you to Mr. Mackey for everything you've done, all the theatre productions and classes, your absolute dedication to what you do. I don't think I'd be as far as I am today without it. And also just wanted to point out how much anyone who didn't take theatre in grade 9 and 10 missed out. While you were working hard on an artwork or a music piece of some kind, we were spending entire classes playing cat and mouse. I'd like to give a little note of thanks to some of our administrators and support staff as well. Thank you, Mr. Fish, for reminding us at every possible occasion that IB is actually not important. Thank you, Mrs. Hager, for being a topic of discussion that seemingly no one ever gets tired of. Thank you for Mr. Gervais for bringing us the good life advice. This is the rock, it goes over your heart. This is the water, it goes over the rock. Whatever that may mean. Thank you to our receptionist, Mrs. Knepper, for sending us good vibes every morning when we arrive late. Thank you to the vice chairman for being here today and for taking your role so literally. It's the chairman sitting on a chair. And quoting another email we received from Mr. Keach, thank you for the flowers, Mr. Schmitz. So yes, thank you to the maintenance department and security also for everything that they've done for us. And so yes, thank you, Mr. Keach, for the entertainment. Of course, for many of us, life at ISL started much before high school. We sometimes have a tendency to forget about the good old days in lower school, maybe because they moved over to a new building, but occasionally I find myself wondering how much things have changed over the years. Does Mrs. Angoy still spend her time writing letters to her imaginary friend that she reads out during assemblies? Does Mr. Walker still spend his time calling parents and telling them about the naughty things their children have done, such as throwing a pen over a fence? Yes, my mother still vividly recalls that phone conversation. And what about table points and lunch tokens? Well, I guess that things have changed just a little bit. But in any case, I think many of us remembered when we first joined ISL, nostalgic memories of our first classes, of our first teachers there. In my case, Mrs. Ertel, Mrs. Moran, Mrs. Fiesel, the musicals with Mrs. Bryson, the art classes with Mrs. Stauffer. Some of the more unlucky ones are still traumatized by Mrs. Kipe. Those memories are a reminder that time has gone by and that we have grown up. I mentioned earlier all of the things that ISL was, more than just a school. And I think there is one formulation that describes it well. It's been a second home. Yes, it has all its quirks and oddities, like your house might have a clogged up sink or a crack in the floorboards. But when we leave, even though we might not want to admit it, won't we feel just a little bit homesick, not being at school anymore? Because that's something that's unique to ISL. We can all feel comfortable and at home there. We all have a location or two where we might feel good, and we all have people who we connect to more than others, friends, teachers. We could go to school feeling well, surrounded and comfortable, regardless of all the downfalls and stress of the IB, and that's priceless. I also think that it's important that we realize how fortunate we have been to be able to attend a school like ISL in a country like Luxembourg. Although it can sometimes feel, when talking with certain people, like money is falling from the sky, I personally like Kirill's expression of excess money. Many of our families have actually had to make a great deal of sacrifices to be able to offer the best possible education for us. It's not granted to attend a school like this. It's not granted to have a second home like this. So we really have our families to be grateful towards. Personally, I really want to say thank you to my mother and my grandparents for providing me with this opportunity and supporting me every step of the way. Finally, I was talking recently with one of you who told me this. I think there's only about 5 people I'd like to keep in touch with. Everyone else I'd rather never see again. And maybe some of you can relate to that. Yes, we all have friends, at least I think. We all have acquaintances, and we all have fellow graduates who we're a little less fond of. Groups have formed, a sort of social structure perhaps, but regardless of that, and whether we like it or not, we are all bonded for life. This common experience, these common memories, wherever we end up in the future, we are all connected by what we have shared at ISL all these years, no matter for how long we've been here. Likewise, I'd like to have a thought for all those who are part of the class of 2019 at one point or another, whether they were there for a long time or just dropped by for a year or two. Today, we are 100. In total, just over 250. All those people are probably graduating somewhere in the world today. Well, probably not exactly today, but yeah, you get what I mean. And they are all part of the ISL class of 2019 as well. Whatever happens, whether we ever meet again or not, we are all connected to life by this experience. So, what's next? Who knows? I'm not going to try to make a prediction about what will happen to everyone in the future because, frankly, I'm not very good at predictions. I thought San Marino had a chance of winning Eurovision this year, and that didn't happen. So, as we embark on the next journey of our lives, I'd just like to end off with a quote by a brilliant French author and humorist called Alphonse Allais. And he said this: "For many years, I pursued my studies. Unfortunately, I never managed to catch hold of them." And maybe that's what it feels like now. This step of our studies is done, but soon there'll be more waiting for us. So maybe rather than hoping and trying to catch hold of our studies and have them done and over with, we should appreciate the fact that we never will. We never will because there is always more knowledge to pursue, always more skills to develop, and always more to learn. But from this moment in time, we can choose what we learn and how we learn it, because learning should be a joy. So whether you're in for another 10 years of studying to become a doctor, whether you're taking a year off to travel the world, whether you're going in training for a more practical kind of work, whether you're going down the artistic path, whether you're going to business school and want to start up your own little company, no matter what you do, it's your choice from now on, it's your life. So let's not try to catch our studies, but don't let them catch us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mika. Always unexpected, always amusing, and clearly a week's notice was more than enough. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Lena Coney-Hoffman, to make our graduation address. Lena is the African Programme Associate Fellow of the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House. Lena is a sociologist by training and does her research on governance, politics, gender, security, and trade. Her current work is particularly interested in how socially shared beliefs and expectations shape the way citizens engage with government and solve big problems. Her field assignments to Africa and research supports NGOs, international organizations, and governments on reform priorities to address challenging development questions. Lena has lived in Luxembourg for 6 years and is currently training to run the ING Night Semi-Marathon. Good luck with that, Nina. She values friendships and loves to hear people tell their stories. She met with a small group of our graduates a few months ago and was delighted by their openness, reflections, and maturity. I seem to recall that she also really enjoyed the lunch as well. Over to you, Dr. Hoffman.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, Ian. Good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful teachers, staff, proud families, and a very good afternoon to the illustrious class of 2019. It is a special honor to be here with you all to congratulate and celebrate this memorable day with you. My thanks to Nikki Crush, the director of the school, and again to Ian Fish, your upper school principal, and my dear friend Grace Jesson, she's somewhere in the audience, the personal assistant to the director. It is the result of the charming collusion of these three delightful people that I'm here to share in sharing your success today. Looking at your faces, I am struck by the palpable energy and promise that each one of you exudes. You've all worked really hard to get here, and this is, and rightly ought to be, a day for chest-thumping pride for all of you. No one but yourselves, and probably your supportive families and caring teachers, really know how hard you've worked to get to this very moment. Every personal and academic milestone you have achieved and will achieve does not just happen to you. This growth takes care, energy, determination, and resilience. So I applaud you for your journey of learning and becoming. That doesn't end today, but it is nice to have moments like this when you can reflect and be grateful for how far you have come. It was the great Madiba, the extraordinary human, Nelson Mandela, who described education as the most powerful weapon with which you can change the world. This morning, I want to acknowledge the fact that each one of you has been weaponized. You probably do not think of yourselves in this way, a little bit armed, a little bit dangerous, but the reality is that within the walls and spaces of your super cool campus, an equipping, an activation, as it were, has been taking place. It was the Irish poet William Butler Yeats that said, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." So consider yourselves ignited. And in case you didn't notice, you're on fire. To the young women here today, you are not only on fire, you are the flame. You represent the dreams of your mothers. My mother is here as well, and my daughter, they're somewhere over there. We are 3 generations with so many different stories. You all represent the hopes of your communities, the future of Luxembourg, and the kryptonite to gender inequality. Without you and your sense of purpose, the world will never be a more equal place for all of us. My origins are in Nigeria, one of the most unequal countries in the world. In much of the north of the country where I come from, more than 50% of young women aged between 15 and 24 have never experienced a formal education. In the Northeast, a terrorist group gained international attention by kidnapping more than 200 girls from their school in Chibok as they waited to write their final exams. Some of the girls escaped, some have been rescued, but 5 years have now passed, and more than 100 girls are still in captivity. Today, more than 98 million adolescent girls around the world are not in school. I do not mention their condition and the reality that the world is narrower and less open for them, so we can bask in a moment of relief over our privilege. Here's why. The whole purpose of education, according to the American journalist Sidney J. Harris, is to turn mirrors into windows. A mirror can almost only reflect you to yourself and a bit of the space around you. A window, however, offers so much more and so many more, a vast and virtually limitless view. Given the 55 years history of your amazing school, the kaleidoscope of cultures, nationalities, faiths, and persuasions that interface and meld on its campus, there are few places with more promise and possibility for transforming mirrors into windows for the world. Now, I'd like to say a few words about the organization I'm affiliated with. Chatham House was founded as the British Institute for International Affairs in July of 1920 and received its Royal Charter in 1926. Its origins are in the Paris Peace Conference of 1919 at the end of the First World War, where some 16 million people were killed. The Institute was conceived because of the horror of one of the deadliest conflicts the world had witnessed and a determination to prevent future wars. Sadly, this determination did not prevent the Second World War, which was deadlier than the first. Nearly 80 million people were killed, including 6 million European Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust. War devastates more than it teaches. It only knows how to consume lives, hopes, and futures. And even time itself cannot fill or erase the gaps, holes, and wounds it leaves behind. Whether you have seen war yourself, some of you sadly might have, wherever and whenever it happens, it will always touch us all. The desperation to avoid a third world war has been the impetus for the creation and existence of many international institutions like Chatham House. Over the course of its 97-year history, the defined mission of Chatham House is to help build a sustainably secure, prosperous, and just world. Its core principles advocate the rule of law, democratic and accountable governance, open and well-regulated markets, as well as a vibrant media and civil society, which together pave the way for informed and robust public debate. Wherever in the world you see peace, equality, freedom, and respect for human rights and the dignity of all people, please remember that these have not just happened. They also require care, energy, determination, and resilience. Very much the same qualities you have shown that have resulted in you being part of this graduating class. Ladies and gentlemen, dear graduates, my own path that led me to work with Chatham House began in Nigeria, where my first job after graduating from university was as an anti-corruption investigator. Nigeria had just returned to democracy after a 16-year stretch of military dictatorships. During that time, the freedom to think or speak without fear was so distant. Repression is a difficult experience to put in words. Many of my generation are still processing our repressive socialization. I say this to implore you all, on the eve of a defining European election, not to ever think of democracy, your democratic rights, as stable or self-sustaining, no matter how long they've been around. Indifference and a disillusion with democracy is growing around the world as inequality grows both within and between countries. Too many people feel excluded as intolerance intensifies and extremism and radical nationalism rises. Our world is facing so many big and complex challenges. We have to grapple with the changing climate, especially as it continues to play a role in worsening many of the conflicts we see today. A record number of people are being displaced because of violence, hunger, and hostile environments around the world. The times we are in so desperately need windows and not mirrors that merely reflect themselves. You have had a first-hand experience of what the world could be like when we put inclusivity, diversity, empathy, and respect for everyone's right at the heart of how we live and how we are. The multinational and multilingual nature of your learning experience here has uniquely prepared you to be truly globally conscious, while the small yet dynamic nature of Luxembourg has taught you how to be tenderly rooted. You have been hardwired to think internationally and to be, I love this line from the school website, citizens unafraid of future challenges. Because of this spirit and the diet of global consciousness you have received in this place, I asked Ian to collude with me in a spontaneous challenge. A challenge which posed a question to you, the graduating class of 2019, to put forward a manifesto to change the world. And we had less than 48 hours to do this. So I'd like to read some of the responses we got. All of them were brilliant. So the question was, the world would be a better place if happiness came before money. The world would be a better place if more people had a chance to go to school while they were little. The world would be a better place if everyone would help those who needed it. The world would be a better place if we all supported each other's dreams. The world would be a better place if everyone gave a stranger a compliment each day. And the world would be a better place if Fortnite didn't exist. Okay. I had to Google that. The world would be a better place if more money was spent to help stop climate change. The world would be a better place if we all accepted each other, regardless of gender, race, and all the other things that seem to define us. Our actions and values should define us, nothing else. The world would be a better place if we were all feminists. And the world would be a better place if we all just got along. Whether the challenge is climate change, water crises, access to education, discrimination, conservation, or the fundamental right everyone has to have a say in the decisions that affect their lives, you are the windows that have been opened to the right solutions. Whatever you choose to do next, I implore you, continue to be actively concerned and involved in saving our planet from the threat of climate change. The science that points to the devastating ramifications of the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is irrefutable. The fearlessness to advocate and drive the innovations that can literally turn the heat down lies within you. The ideas and technologies we need to create a greener, more just and prosperous world are here and here. Anne Frank's hopeful words ring true for you today. How wonderful that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. So we need you engineering, teaching, researching, speaking, building, healing, producing, photographing, styling, fixing, experimenting, measuring, investing, inventing, waxing, helping, nurturing, and making a safer and more peaceful future of more windows than mirrors. I'd like to end my words to you today with a reflection on the term graduate. After all, that is what you are today. Besides the meaning symbolized today by your diplomas, to graduate also means to change gradually or by degrees from something to something else. The Merriam-Webster dictionary adds that this transition is by fine or often imperceptible degrees. As you leave ISL, I hope that your life's path continues to graduate in fine and pleasantly imperceptible degrees, always from something to something else, something more. And may you find joy, fulfillment, and gratifying purpose in all the degrees of your graduation. Congratulations, and thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for those challenging and thought-provoking words, Lena. And thank you to the graduating class for sharing some of their thoughts on how to make the world a better place. It's really great to know that they too put things other than the IB first. Really, really good to hear that our values program that we deliver at ISL is striking a chord with them. It is now time for the faculty-elected speaker, Song Sinran, to share her thoughts with the assembled. Sinran has been at ISL for 4 years, and in this time has made incredible contributions to the school, and in particular to the science department. Next year, she plans to study in the US and is still deciding on her major. Sinran.
Good morning. When I learned 3 days ago that I was to give this speech today, I wondered, what should a graduation speech sound like? Google gave me quite a few templates for free, which were so convenient that all I needed to do was to change the name of the school to ISL. But this is probably the last time I get to speak in front of all of you. So I'd better use this 5 minutes more efficiently. If there is anything that I learned at ISL, that is to use my voice, speak my truth, and tell my story. I came here in 9th grade, along with around a quarter of my fellow classmates who are sitting here today. Before that, I lived in China all my life. People always say that high school is the 4 most wonderful years in our life. I disagree. Ever since my move here, that is from 9th grade, I found myself in a constant struggle. I think high school is a time when we begin to question ourselves. Am I doing the right thing? What's the right way of doing this? What's the right way of doing that? What's the right way to give a graduation speech? What's the right way to fit in? What's the right hobby? What's the right major? What's the right way to live my life? And these questions could almost be a curse for international students like me, when I felt the cultural difference blocking me from others like an invisible glass box, when whatever I did, whatever I liked, seemed so different from the right way. There were so many times when I wondered if there was something wrong with me. And it turned out that I was not the only one. At the end of 9th grade, our English B class, the 20 of us whose first language was not English, hosted a film night. Each of us made a 3-minute film about a topic that concerned us, something that made us feel uneasy, something that we wanted to share. That was, for me, and I think for many of us, the moment that we started to listen to and to speak for ourselves. So if you ask me, what's the hardest challenge in my 4 years here? It's not the pressure from the IB, but more the doubt from within. The feeling that I am a fraud, that I fooled everyone around me with that perfect image of everything being under control. And that's why we feared that we are the only one who does not belong, or the only one who's not good enough, the only one who was on the verge of breaking down. And what I'm most proud of was the fact that I learned to accept my differences, my shortcomings, and to no longer be afraid to show them. This has been a long battle. And I think a lot of us who are sitting here know that vulnerability, that sensibility, when we were in such a transition state, when our self-worth can be so easily damaged by something as trivial as an awkward conversation, and that it takes ages to regenerate the courage to try again. But we did try again and again, to say something that sounds stupid, to do something that we're not good at, to review a bit of our true selves out of that shell of normality, to speak out, to share our struggles, and to find that we were not alone. So here I am, from the shy, quiet girl to the one who asks the most annoying questions in class. In fact, I think I was more nervous 4 years ago giving a self-introduction than I am right now. I think I could say that I have won that battle against my fear, as did so many of us in the class of 19. So, congratulations. And as I was writing this, when writing my speech, I thought about the key to this victory. And I realized that there is something that I have ignored for so long. It is, when I think of it, the miraculous fact that throughout all these 4 years here, I have never received one single discouragement from my teachers. Not even once. In a time when even one slight hesitation, one expression of doubt or disapproval could have been the end of my attempt, I never received any. From the first day at school, when I stuttered for half a minute to ask my way to a classroom, to 3 days ago, when I wondered, how in the world am I going to write a graduation speech in between my IB exams? Whether if it's something I'm good at or not, whenever I hesitated or feared, whenever I thought I couldn't make this, I was encouraged to give it a try. And whatever I tried, I received all the support I could possibly have got. And as far as I know, this is true for all of us. So this is my story. And I know that for the 100 of us in the class of 2019, there are 100 different stories. All different, but all rooted in the same soil of kindness, tolerance, and encouragement from every single member of the ISL community. So thank you. Thank you for supporting us through these turbulent but exciting years. Thank you for being there with us as we struggled to overcome the internal and external challenges. Thank you for creating an environment where we are encouraged to be and are appreciated for who we are. An environment that is only possible through the care and effort of each of you. And of course, we all know that the battle is not over. When we move on to colleges or gap year, or at some point in the future, the old fears that we once faced may return, especially at times of failure, which we all know there will be. We shall again wonder, maybe I'm not good enough. Am I on the right track? And when that happens, we will remember that in these years at ISL, the track we followed was not the perfect track, or the right track, or the normal track, but our own track. And even if that means falling for a few times, it doesn't matter, because eventually we will stand up as who we are. So now I'll conclude with one of my favorite quotes. When you wonder if you are on the right road, remember that in this world, there was no road to begin with. But when we choose to pass one way, a road will be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Sinran. I'm always amazed at the incredible wisdom in our young people. Really amazing. We now continue with our musical selections with Suite Number 1 by Johann Sebastian Bach. This will be a solo performance by Sebastian Dürr. Sebastian? Thank you, Sebastian. Don't stop playing. It's such an incredible talent that you have. Let's give him another round of applause, please. So it's now time for my closing remarks. I had just 2 days to put these together. Before I start, please don't worry, I'm not going to mention Brexit or any other ridiculous charade taking place in my home country right now. It feels somewhat unfair that I should be making the final remarks, actually, given that I've only known this fine cohort of students for around 9 months, where many of you have known them for so much longer, and most of you have known at least one graduate here for around 18 years. It is thus an incredible privilege to be given this honour. Firstly, then, to the parents. You have nurtured and supported your child for a very long time. Sometimes it probably feels a little longer than in other times. Depends on the day, right? You've helped with homework, shared their moments of joy, and also suffered alongside them when times are tough. Raising a child is hard work. It is emotionally charged. It is painful. It is wonderful. It's expensive. So, dear parents, this is your day too. Thank you for all you have done, and my sincere congratulations to you. Let me also recognise the teachers who are here today for the incredible hard work that they have offered our students, the best possible education and the very best possible start in life. The experiences that our teachers prepare every day for our students often goes unnoticed, despite its incredible importance. On behalf of all of the graduating class, to our teachers, thank you. Finally, graduates, it's finally over. No more stressing about getting to school on time and the wrath of the reception. No more IAs, EEs, CAS, ATLs, TOK, and any other number of befuddling acronyms. Enjoy this wonderful moment and treasure your memories of your time at ISL. Cultivate the friendships you have made here. I'd just like to ask you for a moment to imagine how the world would look when you come back here in around 20 years' time to deliver one of the graduation speeches as one of our special alumni guests. With the incredibly rapid pace of change in the world, and indeed in Luxembourg, it may well feel unrecognizable from the place you know so well today. Please just take a moment to appreciate it. Around 20 years ago, just over 20 years ago, back in 1996, when I graduated from university, the internet revolution had just started. We didn't exchange email addresses with friends when we left school, and we certainly didn't have the benefits or drawbacks of social media to stay in touch. In fact, not all of us had any access to the internet at all. 1996 was, however, a good moment to be a young and idealistic European graduate. The Dayton Agreement, ending war in former Yugoslavia, gave hope that peace would finally come back to Europe. Back then, we all believed in the triumph of Western liberalism and Western-style democracy, which we hoped would eventually bring peace and prosperity to the entire world. Reading or watching the news today makes us realize that we were wrong. We live in a very interdependent and increasingly fragile world. Never since the Second World War have we seen so many conflicts, or have there been so many refugees or internally displaced people fleeing from war or persecution. The threats we face have changed over the last 20 years. New non-state actors are emerging. Great democracies are choosing the path of isolationism, making the world seem even more fragile, while conflicts we thought had long since been settled seem to be re-emerging. We experience an unprecedented competition of political systems for spheres of influence, values, and philosophies. So what has this got to do with you? ISL has given our graduates strong foundations to build upon. A foundation built on strong values, enriched by the knowledge and respect for other cultures and religions. At ISL, you have been engaged with a truly multicultural community. You have been challenged to question your beliefs and to recognize and respect the perspectives of others. You know that no culture is superior to any other, and there is no such thing as one universal truth or one right path. TOK will stay with you for a long time. So when you go out to shape the world and become the agents of change, Be driven by a passion to promote international understanding and to support those who need our help, wherever they are. Work hard to achieve your goals. Don't blame fate or other people if you don't, but always preserve your humility. Real success is not about affording a great lifestyle. It's about making a difference, even if just a small one. As you grow older, resist the temptation to become cynical. It's very unattractive. Continuously challenge yourselves. Get out of your comfort zone. Keep learning new skills, new languages. Keep traveling and exploring. Keep the young and idealistic 18-year-old in you alive as long as possible. But don't settle on a single path too soon. Be brave to take turns if the path you are on isn't the right one for you. You are adults now. Take responsibility for your actions and choices and live your own lives. Don't think that others who are less fortunate deserve to be where they are. Someone once said that if success were due to hard work and inventiveness, all women in sub-Saharan Africa would be millionaires. So while you pursue your dreams, think about the social and environmental consequences of your decisions, be it in work, business, or in your private life. Wherever you choose to go into the future, never forget your roots and know that you are always welcome at ISL. Someone can always replace us in our job, but no one can replace us as a loving child, partner, or parent. So, dear students, you made it, and it's nearly time to celebrate. But just before you do that, graduates, you may now place your academic tassels to the left side of your cap. This shows us that you have officially received this prestigious honor. Could I now ask you to stand? ISL organization. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, family, and friends, I present you the graduating class of 2019. Congratulations to each and all of you on this fine achievement. This is the moment they've been waiting for. You may now throw your caps. Let's hope they put their names in them. Just before I finish, I'd like to thank a few people. Miss Parnell, Mrs. Humphreys, and the combined middle and high school musicians. I hope you agree that the music today was outstanding. The ISL and of course you get to hear a little more of it in just a moment. The ISL maintenance team who have worked tirelessly on our behalf. Mr. Binam, Mrs. Phillips, and Mrs. Stebbins-Gruen for all the behind-the-scenes organisation leading up to today and to the refreshments we shall soon receive. Finally, thanks must go to our hosts, the backstage, front of house, and general management of the Grand Théâtre. What a privilege to be able to use this wonderful venue, and we are very grateful to you for all the support. Members of the audience, if I'd like to ask you to remain seated until the graduating class, speakers and guests have left the auditorium. And our recessional today is, ready, Miss Jennifer? Don't Stop Me Now, arranged by Paul Murter and performed by the ISL Joint Bands Conductor. Thank you very much.